Coming all the way from Canada. Keep on traveling all the world. To bring to you right here, this rap. Live from T Dot. From the 416. You know how we do. Up north. You know how we do up north.
Up late, all night, working in the studio, writing rhymes, making dimes, working.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Misha Peterzak, your boy Misha Peterzak, filling in once again. For Miles Wolfe. I don't have COVID, guys. Don't worry. That cough was just clearing my throat.
Maybe Miles does.
Maybe he does. That's right. That voice you just heard is our guest for today. He's going to be sitting in, sharing his valuable time with us today. His name is
Casey Callahan. Pleasure to be on board.
How you doing, Casey?
Doing quite well. How about yourself?
Oh, pretty good, man. You want to tell people what you've been up to lately?
Yeah.
Since we last.
So, I'm making sure that I'm just a stranger that hops onto a podcast. No one knows who I am, which is more than fun. And I'm here to give a little bit of insight into the ways, the magic, the things that we do for crazy reasons. I live in White Rock, BC. I work in the software industry, so I work for a software company that our software is used in manufacturing, distribution. I help them use it. Probably the easiest way to put it. So I work from home, and with that is these times have been interesting lately. We get to stay at home a lot, but now we get to go out a bit more. Get to see how that goes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited. I'm excited to go out a little bit more.
You made it out west. You can come out east. It's a good country that we live in.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, out here in North America, like a 3-hour drive or something is a morning, where you go to like Europe or something, and 3 hours is a long time for people, because you can go across 5 countries in 12 hours if you want to.
You can do multiple countries, and North America here. I can spend 8 hours in the car and barely even hit the next province.
Exactly.
I can go 20 hours. I can go 20 hours north and still be in the same province.
Isn't
if
that
you're in
crazy?
Ontario, you can drive for days and not leave the same province.
Exactly, right? How nuts is that, eh? But people can't fathom just the size of the country we live in. So, being in a country so big, it becomes necessary to travel. And domestic travel in a place like Canada can be very expensive. But our friend Casey here has really been traveling very efficiently recently, and basically what it is Casey is the point king. Points, people. If you're not on points, you gotta get on points and find credit cards and things, programs that work for you. And Casey has, I think, some insight on this, because he's the most experienced, I would say, out of anyone I know doing that uses points. So I will let you take it away for the next little bit.
Sounds good.
Floor is 100% yours. How did
I get into this?
So,
back in January, February, March 2021, we're not so much in a lockdown, but we can't have social gatherings, but the light is at the end of the tunnel. Vaccines are making their way through. And for myself and many others, one of those things that I really enjoyed doing pre-pandemic was travel. I love to travel, even though, I live in White Rock, BC, a lovely place, but our world is small, and I would like to see as much of it as I can. Now, I'm thinking to myself, well, I had to catch up on last year's travel too, because 2020 we couldn't really do as much.
Yeah, it really sucked. Didn't
really
it?
sucked. So, comes out to a fathom on, I would like to be able to see more of Canada, if not the rest of the world. But I also don't want to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on flights and hotels and all of what makes travel really expensive, where there are methods, and we'll be getting into a good amount of detail on methods that we can use to make this more economical, make it affordable, make it in reach for all of us to be able to travel in a way that we would like to travel. Now, taking a step back, it comes out to when you're thinking, I might want to start traveling for cheap. And some of this will get into points and reward programs and credit cards and loyalty programs, where it takes a step back to think on, what do I find value in? Where do I want to build loyalty? So after all, this is all about being rewarded for loyalty and rewarding yourself with programs that you are going to find value in. So I know many people that they love to do Airbnbs, and there are programs that can help make Airbnbs affordable. There's
Okay.
also many people that might enjoy flying on business class flights to international destinations, and there are programs that will help allow for that as well.
Yes.
Everyone has different preferences. Some people don't even care about airlines because they got methods such as work purchases that allow for that to make that happen, and they might want to care more about hotels.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's not any of those. Maybe I'm a homebody and I can't justify traveling, or maybe I'm traveling with my family once a year because that's the only time that we can get away.
Yeah.
Everyone has this background, everyone has their goals and ambitions, and there are various programs out there to help maximize on this. So with points, the high level concept with points is you want to earn points for as cheaply as you can, ideally doing things that you're already doing, maybe some slight tweaks, and then spending them on things that are worth a lot more. Very simple philosophy of buy low, sell high.
Okay.
Now, in terms of earning points, so many people might have a credit card that they've gotten from a long time ago. And I was in the very same position back in January, February, where I had a basic cashback credit card that cost nothing, and I'm getting free cash back. And I thought at the time that was the best thing in the world because
Yeah.
I'm getting free money for spending that I'm already doing.
Exactly.
And free money for the money that I'm already spending is great because it makes spending cheaper. However, if you put a little bit into it, or you think about it a bit more strategically, you can exponentially get more value out of that spending and those activities that we're already doing day to day that can really help get the most value out of it. So
Basically, get rewarded for stuff you're already paying for. Right?
absolutely.
Okay.
So back January, February 2021, lockdown, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I want to travel again when possible, but I don't want to have to pay for it. So I heard from some friends on getting into this, and I was a bit apprehensive at first because we care about our credit. We want to be strong financially.
Absolutely.
So everyone's situation is different. So before we get into this too much, a strong prerequisite is be diligent financially. Don't have credit card debt. Making sure that you're very knowledgeable about what you're doing, why you're doing it. Don't let things get out of hand.
Because credit cards can be dangerous. I know
They
people
can be
that...
so dangerous. Interest rates are ridiculously high. Any sort of credit card debt or accruing interest will wipe out any gains that you make.
Yeah,
So-
and they basically they love people that can't pay it back, right?
Absolutely.
Because it's just more money for the credit card company. So,
So
okay,
your prerequisite for all of this
yeah,
is be strong financially.
okay,
Not so much be strong. You don't need to be rich for this. I know many people that are more into points than I am, and they don't work high jobs. They use it as a method to allow for travel.
okay,
So I thought at my point there, I'd like to start traveling for cheap if not free. I'd like to get in on this as best I can, but there's the other side of this too for many people is what do you want to use your credit for? Many of us have a good credit. We might want to look at buying a house or buying a car or whatever that we might want to do, and those are great goals to have.
yeah,
For myself at this current stage, I have my mortgage on my place I live, and I own my car outright.
yeah. You've
So
done it already.
and so at the same time, I don't need my credit to be useful until my mortgage renews in, let's say, 3.5, 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that doing for me now? Not so much. It's
not a
being
lot,
useful
right?
for in case I would like to use it. So let's start to get some value out of this. And at the same time, this whole points thing that we'll get into over this episode isn't going to destroy your credit too much. It's going to have a little bit of an impact, but over time it will actually help your credit.
Yeah, because on that, I was looking into this myself recently, and I noticed I didn't really realize that when you apply for a new credit card, it drops your credit score a little bit because it's called like a hard inquiry or whatever
Correct.
the company has to do into you. And even though my credit's like perfect basically, they when I apply for a new credit card, if I look back at my credit score, it's like, oh, it dropped, but I keep paying everything on time and everything. So I guess, yeah, if you start applying for more, but I think, let me know if I'm wrong here, but if you have one of those great credit scores, which is usually above 800, right? these inquiries into your credit report don't do as much to people
So
that have a
your
lesser.
yeah, your credit score is made up
Right.
of a couple different components. Some of which is like on-time payment. Some of
Yeah.
which are your hard inquiries. Some of which are your amount. Like another one is debt utilization. So if I have a certain amount of credit available, how much of that are you actually actively using? So
Yes.
someone that has only $500 available on my first credit card that I've ever had, and I'm constantly maxing it out,
Yes.
that doesn't look so good.
That's right.
So the other side of it is, okay, your average age of accounts. How long have you had your accounts open for? So
Yep.
as you start getting into this points game a lot more, is you'll have a lot more open accounts for longer. So that will help. And also you'll have a lot of credit that you have available and you're not using as much
In
of it.
total, yeah, that's right.
So with that said, is I got started on this game. I will call it a game because
Okay.
we're using this to get good value for ourselves. We are winning the game.
Absolutely.
So I started off with this CIBC Aeroplan Infinite card. So many of these bank credit cards, they'll have welcome bonuses. They would like to reward us for using their product that they like to basically sell us. And so there's different reward programs out there. And the one that I wanted to start off with was Aeroplan. Aeroplan is partnered with Air Canada.
Correct.
For those living in Canada, it provides great value because most places in Canada, if not into the US, will fly with Air Canada, if not one of their partner airlines. So that's the first piece. The second piece is their points are generally well valued, where sometimes you get certain redemption value, and we'll get into that as we go on. And the last bit there is it's something that I already knew about. It's not like I'm starting off with a new point reward program that I've never heard of before. So I heard about Aeroplan from friends and family. It's
Yeah, me
not like
too.
it's new. It's out there.
Yeah.
So the welcome bonus on this card was 20,000 Aeroplan points. I didn't know when I was going to use them, but I thought I might as well start.
Yeah.
So I started, and so to get typically with these welcome bonuses, you have to spend a little bit on the card.
Right.
It's not like some of these cards out there, they actually do it on first purchase.
Oh,
And we'll
yeah.
get into some of the cards I've gotten over the
And
years.
it can just be like a $1 purchase, and it'll.
I've done one of those.
Yeah.
So this Aeroplan Infinite card from CIBC, it was 20,000 points plus a Buddy Pass. So Buddy Pass, I can use that to fly someone else with me out to,
I've heard of those. Yeah.
out to wherever, and they just have to pay the fees.
Okay.
So
And the fees we're talking, like, what are we?
So the fees,
What are
we're talking
these-
like $40 for going across the country.
Yeah. Is it
Taxes.
just like those weird
Airport-
surcharges,
yeah.
taxes, airport taxes?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And so
Sorry, I gotta get my drink.
You gotta get your drink
here.
on.
This is so captivating. Carry on.
So 20,000 points, Buddy Pass for spending $1,000 in 4 months. And for some people thinking, well, that's a fair bit of money, yes. But how we get through that are a couple different ways. First way, you switch your primary card that you use for your day-to-day purchases. You're not getting any benefit out of using your debit card for spending.
Correct. Yeah.
Your credit card, as long as you follow that prerequisite, the prerequisite being strong financially and having your due diligence and being responsible. So I will use my credit card for all of my day-to-day purchases.
Okay.
Then you always pay it off at the end of the month, if not sooner.
Yes.
So with this $1,000 in 4 months, I switch all my day-to-day spending onto the card. So I just use it as I normally would. And lo and behold, you get through that minimum spending and you get all these points. You'll also get points on the spending that you're doing with the card itself. So many of these cards, you'll get, let's say, 1 point per dollar that you spend. So you start earning these points, but you're not going to get too far or get a significant amount of points by just spending at I can get 1 point per dollar, and to fly to Edmonton and back in a couple of weeks from now would be, let's say, 18,000 points. Or from here to Toronto in November would be, and right here being Vancouver to Toronto would be around 17,000 points in the winter, like several months out. So that's like 17,000 points. Think $17,000. That's a lot. So these new credit cards, they'll offer welcome bonuses in good sizable amounts.
And they basically cover almost like one trip, kind of, right off
Absolutely.
the bat, right?
Absolutely. So
Okay.
20,000 points and this Buddy Pass
Yeah.
for spending $1,000, and that's great.
How much is the Buddy Pass valued at? Like,
So here's the fun part. So you can actually convert a Buddy Pass to more points,
okay.
because my general use case here is I don't want to fly with someone else and pay for them. I'd rather fly myself in either business class or a much more farther flight. So you could convert a buddy pass to
Ah.
30,000 points. So I'm not getting 20,000
Oh.
points out of this. I'm getting 50,000 points out of this.
Wow, look at that.
And so you have to call in to Aeroplan to convert the buddy pass. However, the fun part here is some of these cards, and the reason I didn't really get into this before is, like my first credit card that I had, the cashback cards that we all had probably had before, had no annual fee.
Yeah.
Many of these cards have annual fees that have these good point bonuses because you get what you pay, and
Well,
we're being good customers.
That's what I realized because this one thing, the CIBC Infinite, for instance, is that one that had one of those annual fees, or was it the free one?
So many of these cards are from banks. They may have a first year free.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. Because I'll tell you, I actually never told you this like off air or anything either, but I signed up preliminarily. I actually got Scotia Gold.
Oh, you got the Scotia Gold.
Scotia Gold. It's called Scotia Gold Amex. That one. We can talk
Oh,
about that one a little bit
Oh
later.
yes, that's on my favorite list.
And yeah, and so I get that first year. Boom, there it is. Everyone, sorry,
I
we
just
don't have
pulled it out of my wallet
He
here.
just pulled it out of his wallet. It looked so nice. But yeah, I got I applied for that one. I'm approved, all the time. And then I applied for one of those free ones from CIBC. Not the $120 annual fee one, but the $0 fee, and it's
Okay.
I think it's a 10,000.
Probably the platinum.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think it's
I'll
a
get
ten-
into
it's a
that.
10,000 Aeroplan point sign up bonus for just first purchase, right? And that's pretty much it. But yeah, what I did realize was, because doing my own research, is that I've always been, in the past, free credit cards because I don't want to have another annual fee. But then I realized over time, actually, my parents have the Visa Avion one, which is also another flying kind of credit card, right? Travel, $120 a year, I think it is. The credit cards that have the most, and a lot of adults have that one too. These credit cards that have the best benefits come with the annual fees, and that's just something you have to deal with, let's say,
Well, the big piece that we also need to consider here are two considerations here. The first one is no one ever said that you had to keep the card forever. And
Exactly,
often
yep.
you can get these cards again and again.
Are you allowed to apply to the same one if
You
cancel
are
it?
typically you'll have a couple years in between. So
Yeah,
often
yeah,
the term here is churning. We'll churn through cards and do them multiple times, or we will swap out different cards with different cards and cancel and reapply and keep getting those welcome bonuses because there are terms and conditions that are typically working in our favor. Now, there are some exclusions to that, such as American Express. However, in most cases where, let's say for my CIBC Infinite Visa, my first basic one that I got with points, is first year free. So I didn't have to pay a fee. I'm getting all these points. There's nothing that says I actually have to keep it past the first year.
Yeah, that's true.
So with that said, I plan on canceling it after I hit my first year.
Okay.
TD has a very equivalent card that I'm going to do next.
Okay.
And just cycle through them.
All right.
So TD, Aeroplan Infinite, very similar, if not the same card in terms of the perks, the benefits.
I saw that.
Also has a welcome bonus.
That's right.
Get more points. At the same time, it helps to have a Visa card to put some day-to-day stuff on because not everywhere takes other credit cards that we'll be getting into very soon. So after I did my Aeroplan Infinite, I did that Aeroplan Platinum, the free one from CIBC. I did that card too.
And you never
I
have
bought
to use
it.
it again.
I bought
after.
a cup of coffee. I got 10,000 points, and the card goes into the card drawer.
There you go.
In my condo, I have the card drawer, which is all the cards I don't use anymore because you work through them and you put them in the bin. And then you got to remember to cancel them after the first year. Now, that free one, I'll just keep it open.
Yeah, because it doesn't
do anything.
Doesn't do anything, right? That's interesting.
It's not providing value to me, but that's more than fine. So that's how I got started on this, and then it grows exponentially from there.
And so, I guess looking at it right now, if we're talking about all these cards, I never thought of this before, but that's why I have you here to provide me wisdom, Casey. Is these credit cards that have the annual fee and they have the sign-up bonus, like the TD Visa Infinite and the CIBC Infinite, whatever. You'd recommend not having them at the same time.
Well,
because then
depending on what programs that you're finding value in, though.
So because assuming you want to cancel to avoid paying the annual fee for the second year, you can just sign up for the other one that you didn't already have and get that first year.
Correct.
Yeah, I see now. Okay.
So many programs have, again, I'd recommend looking into the T&Cs of the cards that you're looking into. Some cards don't have first year free. So you have to pay that first year fee right off the bat. But then it's up to you to decide on what value that you're going to get out of that card, or whether you think it's worth it to apply. Some cards have very steep annual fees, and they're not first year free.
Yes.
One of those in particular is the American Express Aeroplan Reserve, or the American Express Platinum cards.
Oh, I was waiting to hear that name, American Express Platinum. I know that's your favorite
It's
card.
one
You
of the
love
ones.
to-
It's one of the ones that I'm working through right now.
You just get your wallet out and you just whip it on the table, and everyone's like, "Oh!"
So the main piece here is those cards have steep annual fees. They're in the $500 to $600 to $700 a year range. However, hundreds of thousands of points off of them make it worthwhile, because I can do multiple trips with the amount of points there. They'll also offer other perks that you can't just buy off the street, such as priority access on Air Canada, status bumps, lounge access, who knows what, concierge service. But beyond that is the beginning concept here is we are earning points for cheap, which is typically through credit card sign-up bonuses, spending that we're already doing by switching our spending over to these new cards, and then using them for expensive things, such as business class flights, luxury hotels. So the Aeroplan is a stronger program here in Canada. There's other programs such as, well, you can do air miles, but I'd rather not.
Yeah, I looked at air miles.
Yeah, so we've all heard of air miles. You'll go to Safeway and you see air miles, and I'm not avidly collecting them. The thing that I also keep my eye on is what kind of redemption value I can get.
Yes.
And more on top of that is flexibility from other programs. American Express, they can also, many of their cards can transfer to Aeroplan. They cannot transfer to Air Miles.
Oh, okay.
So depending on how you're earning your points, and many people also earn points off of business spending. An example of this is I might need to incur some company expenses. I might need to, buy some stuff for the company. I might need to buy lunch for coworkers and stuff.
Correct.
I'd like to do that, because then I can take the points on my own credit card
and get reimbursed.
Get reimbursed for it. I'm not actually paying, but I'm just getting the points from it.
But you're getting the points. I know that's how my dad collected, hundreds of thousands. I can't remember how many points he had, but of Marriott points.
Let's get into Marriott.
Yeah, and so basically, to finish his little story there, he his last job that he had in his career was, for the last few years, was being a technical consultant for the maintenance on airline engines and for Air Canada. So basically, they contract out the maintenance work on the engines to a third party facility in, it was usually in Europe, like Germany, Holland, or even the UK and everything. And he'd go, and France even. He'd go and for like months at a time and be staying in the Marriott. He'd put it all on his card, get reimbursed for it, and he, in turn, gets hundreds of thousands of points. And we used those afterwards, years later, for when we would go cross country. Driving back from university, from Ontario to BC, through the States, we stayed everywhere for free because of those points, because of those Marriott points.
Music to my ears.
Exactly.
So let's talk about Marriott. So,
okay.
Now, it first starts off with airline miles, because that's the main one. But one thing that not many people think about too closely, but I'm starting to put a bit more focus on these days, is when you're going somewhere, you have to fly there, or not. You don't have to fly there, but if you're going somewhere that you've got to fly to. Well, you're flying there, but that's a one-time cost during your trip. You have to fly there, you have to fly back. But the other side of this is when you're staying somewhere, you got to pay every single night for somewhere to stay.
That's right.
So that's where there's good value in hotel redemption.
Yes.
So there's many hotel loyalty programs. Hilton, Marriott's one of our preferred ones. They typically have decent redemption values and ways to get status with the hotels. So in April, a friend of mine who is also into points asked me, "What are you doing this weekend?" And it's April of 2021. We're in the high COVID case numbers, and I'm like, you know what? I got nothing going on this weekend. What's going on? And he told me that he was going to do a mattress run.
Okay.
So Marriott had a promotion going on at the time where if you're with hotel statuses, they typically come with the amount of nights that you're staying per year.
Yes.
So you'll get certain status. Let's say if I spend 10 nights a year with a hotel, if I spend 5 nights with a hotel a year, 50, 75, and so on. So Marriott was having a promotion at the time where you would get double the nights for status qualification for every night that you stayed.
Double the nights for status qualification.
So I spend one night at the hotel. It counts for 2 nights for my status.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Yeah.
Marriott's redemption and how that one works is, well, I can use points towards a hotel stay. You can earn points with your Marriott credit cards or from your stays themselves, and you can spend them. Now, there's going to be some expensive hotels, like overwater villas in the Maldives, which are several $1,000s a night.
Yeah, right.
Those are your top level, or you have your hole-in-the-wall hotel by the Edmonton airport,
Oh, yeah,
which is your lowest level.
exactly.
So Marriott counts them as different categories.
I know, yeah, I
So-
realized that too.
You have your category 8s, which are your overwater villas in the Maldives, the Ritz-Carlton in downtown in Manhattan overlooking Central Park. Then you have your category 1s, which are your there's only 6 of them in Canada. There's only 6 category 1s in Canada.
Really? Do you know where they are?
A handful of them are in Alberta. So you have a couple of them in Edmonton, one
Really?
in Medicine Hat. You got I think one in Winnipeg, and then one in rural Ontario.
Like category 1 with, so like being the highest amount of...
Lowest.
Oh, the lowest. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Because
so
I was going to say...
those sound like
I stayed in a Marriott on my dad's points in Winnipeg, and that was one of the lowest rates I've ever seen.
So this one,
yeah.
this one here was 5,000 Marriott points a night, but in this case here, we were looking to get status for the next year. Where my friend was looking for status for the next year, so it made sense. And he had a handful of these Marriott points built up over various spending activities over the previous years, and so he felt that he wanted to spend all of these points to get a whole bunch of nights for status. But we don't have time to. One thing that not many people talk about, but you don't actually have to stay somewhere if you wanted to get the nights for it. So what we did is we drove to Edmonton, checked into the hotel. Our stay there was for 3 weeks
Yeah.
to get a whole bunch of qualifying nights for status, but we didn't actually stay there, and we used points for all the stay.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So that's called a mattress run.
Because it's at a lower rate.
It's a cheap
affordable.
hotel, so it's 5,000
Yeah.
points a night, but
Yeah.
we're basically only spending 2,500 a night for status
Yes.
because it's double the nights.
Exactly.
Marriott also has a perk where if you're redeeming points for a stay, you're paying for 4 nights, but you get the 5th night free. Doing
Okay.
that over 3 weeks, you're actually not spending as many points
Yeah.
to get status. So my friend there managed to get himself up to that titanium level status, which is 75 nights a year in April. So
Wait. So what does the status do for you though?
so
Like, as
some of the
a-
perks of the status is you get your early whatever check-in time that you want.
Yeah.
Late checkout at 4 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Some hotels have lounge access.
Mm-mm.
You'll get welcome points for staying there. You'll get free breakfast. Other perks like that. So
Okay.
they're nice things to have. They're not by any means required to maintain loyalty.
Mm.
However, I was bored one weekend, so I might as well come along for the ride. I wasn't doing my own mattress run by any means,
Yeah.
but when I got back, I applied for the Marriott Bonvoy American Express credit card.
Ah, look at that.
So that credit card was fun. It had 65,000 Bonvoy points as its welcome bonus if you spend $3,000 in 3 months.
Okay.
Now, $3,000 in 3 months actually sounds like a much steeper order than 1,000 in 4 months. Sounds like a
Yeah.
lot of money to spend.
Mm.
But there's other ways that we can also get that spending out of the way, and some of those are, I might pay for my car insurance once a year.
Mm-hmm.
That car insurance might cost $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000.
Exactly.
Let's say it costs somewhere in between there.
Yeah.
I can do that lump sum car insurance purchase on a new credit card
Exactly.
and blast through the minimum spend like that.
Yeah. No, that's very true. What about because this is one of those things I read about where you can basically accrue or accumulate points for stuff that you're already going to pay regardless. For instance,
Absolutely.
rent and obviously car insurance, rent, telephone bill.
So rent
utilities.
is a tougher one. Rent
I
is
know
a
those
tougher
are tough,
one.
and I wanted to ask: Do you know of any kind of ways to get that?
There's services out
on
there.
a credit
Yeah,
card?
there's services out there called like Plastique or Pay Simply that you can
I've
use.
heard of plastic. Yeah.
Yeah, so Plastique, you can pay a fee for it. Sometimes it's worthwhile if you just need to work through the minimum spend. There's other mechanisms too that you can use, and so for some of these is, you might be doing spending on something later on, but not within this 3 months. So some of those, for example, I might buy a gift card for.
Okay.
I might go to the grocery store, buy a gift card.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I know I'm going to be buying a laptop as a gift for a family member at Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
We're in August right now.
Mm.
We're in September. We're in the fall, but I know it's not going to be within this 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
I can go get a gift card for that, and I'm getting the spend now. As long, again, to our key rule, you got to be strong financially in order to make this whole system work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And doing what you're comfortable with too. Sometimes you're not comfortable with it.
Yeah, I assume there's different levels to this. You can be on a really intense level, which I feel like you are compared to like if I'm getting started into this. I'm going to be on a very basic
It
level.
comes out to whatever everyone's comfortable with, and
Yeah.
we're not here to push people into things that. It's making
course
sure
not.
that we're capturing these minimum spend requirements to get these points, and then we can use them for travel. So now, what we're getting into a lot here is around this time is it sounds like I'm just getting a whole bunch of points. I'm not really using them.
Mm-hmm.
So how we use these points is these points I've already earned so far, the 50,000 Arrow plan, or even more than that now because I did another card in between there. Got all the Marriott points. So in July, I visited some friends on the other side of the country in Ottawa and Montreal. So I used my points for a flight. So I flew from Vancouver to Ottawa on points. So I pay $40 for that flight in taxes and fees,
Yeah.
which when you're redeeming for Aeroplan or redeeming for flights, typically you'll want to spend a little bit of money, and rather than just doing strict points. And that might seem like, hold on, don't you want to fly for free? Realistically, yes. However, you also want to use your card's insurance benefits.
Yes, that's right. They do come with those. Yeah.
You're not going to get those benefits if you're not spending on the card.
Yeah.
If I put a little bit of a flight on the card, then I'll get those insurance perks. So
and insurance, we're talking like lost
well,
baggage,
lost
and
baggage,
all this other stuff.
medical insurance if you have got it. Yeah, so any sort of
Yeah.
insurance benefits that you get on your cards, you're not going to get if you're not spending on it for your flight.
Yeah, that's true.
So anyhow, when I was in Ottawa,
yeah,
I stayed at a hotel in Ottawa. My friend's place there, it worked out better for me to stay. I could stay in a hotel. I could be a great guest and not have to intervene or to, sometimes when we have guests over, it goes both ways. So I stayed at a hotel in Ottawa for 35,000 points for 2 nights, 35,000 Bonvoy points. So I used up some of the welcome bonus. I still had a whole bunch of points left. Stayed in Ottawa for the hotel there, took the train to Montreal, but and that was just a Via Rail train, and then the flight back from Montreal was on points as well. So
okay.
managed to use up some of those points. Had a lovely trip, and that was the first post-vaccine flight that I took in this wonderful age that we live. So it comes out to is it also helps to get value out of the work that we're doing on these points, because another piece of this game that I haven't talked about too much yet is there's value in having a handful of points.
Yes,
but these points are not like money where they're getting interest or you're saving up for something. There's also a risk in the community called devaluation.
Okay.
Some programs might devalue their point currencies because these points cost the airlines money.
Yeah.
And so they might want to devalue them, make things cost more points than they cost before.
Yeah, because they realize maybe it's too easy for people to get up to the certain point threshold where they can.
There's many reasons that they might devalue. So there is risk of devaluation. So the whole name of the game, I'm churning, earning, and burning points.
Yeah.
Churn credit cards, earn points, burn points on fun trips.
Yeah, because I also heard this thing talking about burning points. I don't know if this is true or not, but if you, let's say you have one of those first year free cards, let's say Scotia Gold, whatever, you earn a bunch of points on it, then you cancel at the end of the first year because you don't want to use it anymore. You don't want to pay the annual fee. The points associated with that card, I've heard that sometimes they go away. They could go away. So that's why you have to use them before canceling.
Yeah, well, I'd recommend making sure that your credit cards that you go for have a transferable, not so much a transferable program, but a corresponding program that goes with it. So, for example, Aeroplan is its own program, independent of CIBC.
Yeah.
Avion is with RBC.
Yeah.
Some banks' cards, if you transfer those points to a different card, then you're okay before canceling.
Okay.
However, the other piece here is use your points.
What about if you this is another thing that a recommendation, let's say, was one of these cards like Scotia Gold, for instance, or no, forget one of the Aeroplan credit cards like CIBC Infinite, whatever. You don't want to pay that annual fee, so instead of canceling your card, you go down to one of the free cards.
Yeah, you can do product switching too. So product switching is its own category that I haven't even gotten into too much.
Yeah.
Where you can say, well, I would like to product switch this, which for some banks, and I don't have specific details, but you can actually get the welcome bonus on those other cards without the credit hit or the additional account that show up.
Okay.
So
that's interesting.
It's something to look into when suitable. At this stage of my game that I am playing, I'm not planning on doing any sort of product switching anytime soon because there's still cards to get, and I don't need to start switching away from existing ones yet.
Yeah.
CIBC, I already got both cards, so I'll just cancel the other one, and there's also privilege cards too. which are quite high up there in terms of earn rates and otherwise. But
True.
there's also what value that you're getting out of that compared to other cards that you already have.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's necessary to get all the top dog cards from each.
From each one, well, it's what you find that you're going to find value in.
True. Yeah.
So, at the same time, then I started getting into some big boy cards such as the Aeroplan Reserve, Platinum cards, Scotia Gold, and that's where we start cranking it up a bit. So there are some really good welcome bonuses back in June, July, August with 10 times points on dining and grocery, and like, you know what, get better capture them all. So you do.
I feel like these offers though, they come up all the time though, like these bonus offers.
If they're record bonuses, typically not so much. So
okay,
it's something as well. Keep an eye out.
I mean, like the sign up bonuses though.
Well,
because they always want people to come in.
Yeah, but more
spend on their card. No.
Yeah, but more so now. American Express took a bit of a wager because, well, it's July, August, September 2021. We're opening back up.
Yeah.
People are going to want to travel. Let's capitalize on this. Get a whole bunch of people to use our cards.
Yeah.
So, with that said, started getting into like Aeroplan Reserve, getting a whole bunch of points that way, and then started getting into like working through a whole bunch of cards at once, where I might have a whole bunch of company expenses coming up. So I might want to plan for that and get a card to, I know I will be able to work through the minimum spend on it. So some of these cards, like the American Express Platinum, the Platinum card has a really high they have big sign up bonus.
Yeah.
But a large amount of spending.
Yeah, that's
so that
correct.
card, the fun one there, is at $6,000 in 6 months.
So $1,000 a month, basically.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. So thankfully, but if you got a large purchase coming up, so let's say I know I'm doing home renovations, or I know my company's going to send me off on some trips, or I need to incur some company expenses, or
it's
I know
not very unreachable. Then.
It's not very unreachable at that point.
Yeah.
Or if you have a significant other that can also help out with that too.
Correct. Yeah.
So some of these things are a bit easier, but as long as you plan for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's strategic in when to get a certain card, not just like right away.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, okay.
And on top of that, many banks will typically only, like, let's say if I'm applying for a credit card, they're doing that one check when I'm getting that credit card, right? But the one secret that sometimes isn't as widely familiar with is if I apply for multiple cards on the same day, there's only one credit check.
Yeah.
So it doesn't hit the credit as much. So back at the end of July, I did 3 credit cards in one day because you might as well get the most value out of the credit hit.
I did my Scotia Gold application and my basic CIBC one, the free one, in the same day as well.
Well, that's not going to help you too much. And the reason there is because it's 2 different banks.
Yeah.
So if you did, let's say, your Scotia Gold and a different Scotia credit product or another credit card, then it would have only been one hit from Scotia.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about the Scotia Gold.
Okay.
We keep bringing it up from here to here. I feel it needs its own segments because of such good value of it.
I think it does.
A little bit of information about it is it's American Express card from Scotiabank in Canada. So Scotiabank is the only bank in Canada to also carry American Express as a payment provider. Many banks such as BMO, TD, RBC, CIBC, they'll typically carry, for the most part, Visa, and some of them carry MasterCard.
MasterCard, right.
Right?
Yeah.
Scotia is the only one that also does American Express. So the Scotia Gold card, so the first one here, it says it's first year free. So nice part is you can get the card, try it out. If you don't like it or you just don't feel like you're getting good value out of it, just cancel it after the first year.
Yeah.
The second piece is there's other ways, and I'm not sure if you did this with your card or not. I did it with mine. There's a site out there called Great Canadian Rebates.
Okay.
So,
I've probably seen it.
So Great Canadian Rebates gives cash back if you use their website to go get the card to the tune of $110.
Oh, okay.
So I got $110 free dollars. First year free, so I'm getting paid to get this card.
Well,
it sounds like I'm just trying to sell it to you at this point.
No. Well, because what I did, mine was something similar along the same lines, except it was I think it was a site called Credit Genius or whatever, and they were giving $100 Amazon gift cards with signing up. Same concept for Scotia Gold, so that I did it through them. So
as long as you're getting good value out of it,
exactly.
And with American Express cards, a little segue here before we get back onto the Scotia Gold is American Express cards such as your Platinum cards, your Reserve cards, your any of those cards, they'll often have referral. Well, they'll have referral bonuses. If I, Casey, want to refer Misha or Miles to the Aeroplan card, not Aeroplan, but to the American Express card of their choice that I might already have, I can refer them and I get points, and sometimes they'll get an elevated sign-up bonus.
Oh, I see.
So
yeah.
it helps to keep in the community where we don't hear about cards on their own. We hear about them word of mouth from a referral offer.
Yeah, true.
So it helps out everyone. So with the Scotia Gold one, it didn't really have any sort of referral. But the Great Canadian Rebates is a way to also make sure that you're getting someone something, and by that being yourself, something for getting the card. So the big piece here with the Scotia program, so Scotia rewards are quite flexible.
Okay.
So I can redeem Scotia points at a ratio of 1 cent per point. So I have 100 points, I get $1.
Yeah.
And I can redeem that for any travel-related purchase. So at the beginning of this episode, I had mentioned where, well, yeah, if you like doing business class flights to fancy destinations or hotels, that's great. If you like doing Airbnbs, there's ways to make that affordable too.
Yeah.
With making that affordable, you can use your Scotia rewards to pay for your Airbnb. You can use your Scotia rewards to pay for your off-brand hotel in Tofino. You can use Scotia rewards to pay for your car rental. Any travel-related expense, you can use Scotia rewards for. And how it works, well, the nice part about Scotia rewards is you don't actually have to book it through Scotia. It just shows up as a statement credit. So it just offsets the purchase, so you're basically getting it for free.
Oh, I understand. Okay.
So that's the first piece with how Scotia rewards work, which makes them relatively handy to have in the tool belt. They'll just catch everything else.
Yeah. Can you transfer them to something like are they transferable to something like Aeroplan or whatever?
They're not transferring them. You could use them to pay for a cash fare for a flight, which can also have its own perks. Airlines will typically, when you're looking to go for airline status as the next level, they'll typically require for you to actually spend money with the airline. You can't just get airline status by just flying a lot without actually spending money with them.
Yeah.
But you're spending money with them if you're using your Scotia rewards. You're just not paying for it out of your own pocket.
Exactly.
So the Scotia rewards are a handy one to have in the tool belt. Very underrated in the community, but very highly sought after. They're very handy to have.
Oh, okay.
And the nice part about the Scotia Gold is it has multipliers. So for most things that you'll spend on the Scotia Gold, you will get 1 cent per point on most purchases.
Yeah.
However, you'll get 3 cents or 3 points per dollar. 3 points per dollar on, I believe, streaming services, gas, and a couple other things. Right? So you're getting basically 3% back.
Yeah, I know
off
there
of
was.
those.
I think it was with participating restaurants and food services and stuff. It was. I think it was
5 times.
and then 3 was whatever you just said with gas and.
Yeah, so 5 times on grocery and dining.
Yeah.
One fun one here for your information here, Misha, is BC Liquor Stores counts as grocery on the Scotia Gold. It does not count as grocery or dining on other credit cards. So my Scotia Gold is my BC Liquor card.
That's funny.
Because it counts as 5 times. So I'm
That's
hearing
what I'm
5 times is, well, I'm getting basically 5% back.
Yeah.
By using specific cards in specific places. Or the Scotia Gold card is first year free. You can use these points for anything. So it's a great, I'd like to recommend it to everyone, to the listeners. It's a great starter card if you're trying to get into this for the first time.
Okay.
You don't have to build loyalty to anything.
Yeah. No, I'm glad I did apply actually to it.
I'm very glad too.
It seemed like because I looked at countless sites. I looked at countless sites at night and everything, and all the different cards, and which one I think I could probably do first off.
But it's getting your feet wet. You're not just jumping straight into the deep end, and I don't recommend for people to jump into the deep end unless you're familiar with what you're doing and then how to make sure you're getting value out of the work that you're doing with this. And for some of us, it's just we start using the card for every day-to-day purchases.
Yeah.
For others, like myself, it becomes a bit more of a hobby, and as long as we're finding good value in what we'd like to do with it. And the Scotia Gold is a great starter card, and also has good value over time. So, yeah.
I mean, I realize, it works better if you have a variety of cards because you use them at very specific places. And I guess if the Scotia Gold almost seems like it could be like a jack of all trades sort of thing, in terms of getting point value back. Seems like it's a great card to get, actually.
Yeah. So one thing I'll typically recommend as you start getting more and more cards is I'd also recommend spreadsheeting them. That way you're keeping track of what's your minimum spend off of it, what referral bonuses did you get.
I know you've told me
if it's first year free, when should you cancel it? But one thing that I've done on mine is I have also added on which cards have which multipliers.
Yes.
So I know, for example, at BC Liquor, I'm using my Scotia Gold.
Mm-hmm.
However, if I'm using gas, I'll use my American Express Cobalt card, which gets me 2 times points at gas stations. Now, because of certain point valuations, I could do 3 times off of the Scotia Gold, but I'm getting 2 times Aeroplan off of the American Express Cobalt. So it's all sorts of different math that you can do to determine where you're going to find value and what you need to spend where.
Yeah. Gosh.
Ooh.
Yeah, because I know I would lose track of everything, and then also when your statement dates come up as well, you can't necessarily remember them all unless you just make it
You
all
need
on the
to-
same day. But,
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
most of mine are relatively aligned at this point, but at
Yeah.
the same time is this whole name of the game, always pay off your statements in full. You
Yeah.
never carry a balance.
exactly.
Sometimes if you need to do payments in advance because that you find that these numbers are getting way too high, or you find that you're spending too much, which I'd recommend keep on your existing spending habits.
Yeah.
We're doing the spending that we're already doing and not anything more.
Yeah.
It might seem as you start getting to very large, thick wallets full of plastic and metal, that might seem really tempting to just start spending like crazy.
Yeah. Exactly.
I've
you
been
have,
tempted
you have so
completely.
much credit available, right?
Yeah,
But
we might as well spend. So
it can get very dangerous.
it gets very dangerous. Don't fall into the trap.
Mm-hmm.
Comes out to the prerequisite. Be smart financially.
And what about in terms of the spending we're already doing, like with the plastique, for instance, that service
Yeah,
plastique?
so I might use plastique. Well, I typically
they
won't.
must. But they must charge a little fee.
They charge 2.8%.
So okay.
I typically find it's not worth it unless you need to work through a minimum spend that you can't hit otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
An example, back when I first got my Aeroplan Reserve card, it was like $3,000 in 3 months.
Yeah.
But I had property taxes due that month.
Oh, okay.
So I'll just do
Worked
that.
out.
I'll spend the $30
Yeah.
just to not have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
You get the points for it.
It worked out, I guess. Yeah.
Or something such as rent, typically a bit more of a challenge unless it's like your property management agency that you can bill pay.
Mm-hmm.
Where like other expenses, like let's say college tuition, you can sometimes get away with if they have their own payment provider. But you also got to do the math on what value that you're going to get out of the points. Typically, it'll be somewhere around 2%.
Okay.
And for Aeroplan,
2%.
because Aeroplan's typically valued in terms of good. One thing with Aeroplan that you should always keep an eye on is what kind of redemption value are you getting?
Mm-hmm.
And typically, I look at it at cents per point. So if a flight costs, let's say $500, and it's costing $500, 25,000 points, it's around 2 cents per point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So with Aeroplan, I'll typically look at above 2 cents per point if I want to redeem for points.
Okay.
Other programs such as Scotia Rewards will typically only redeem at 1 cent per point because it's just a statement credit.
Yeah.
So depending on where you're finding value in your points, Marriott typically around 1 cent per point. But the fun part is the cents per point can typically go up on certain things such as business class flights.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I'm working on some flights right now. I got some trips coming up where.
Which I was going to ask you about actually.
Yeah.
Where is Casey going next with this point lifestyle? Tell me, please.
So next week I have some time off. So I am flying from Vancouver to Halifax.
Oh wow. Okay. Coast to coast
in business class.
Business class.
Because it was great redemption. So I'm spending 40,000 Aeroplan points.
Look at this, people. We could all be doing this.
40,000 points to fly in a lay flat seat across the country. The smart thing I'm also doing here is I'm flying a red-eye flight, so I'm flying at night.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you're in economy, that sucks. You're not getting any good sleep.
Yeah.
But if I'm in a lay flat seat, like a little pod on the plane, I can sleep on the flight, and I'm not paying for a night of hotel.
Yeah. Look at that. Wow.
So, flying to Halifax, and from Halifax, 4 nights in Halifax, and then going from Halifax to St. John's, Newfoundland, for a couple of nights, and then doing business class on the way back.
Okay. And it goes, remind me again, Vancouver to Halifax.
They're both through Toronto. Well, Toronto on the
through
way there, and then
Toronto.
on the way back is through Montreal and Calgary.
Montreal and Calgary. Okay. I see.
If any listeners, depending on when this podcast will come out, Thursday, September 16th, meet up at the WestJet's Elevation Lounge in Calgary Airport. Feel free to come by, say hello.
Look at that. We schedule meetups on this podcast. Yeah. But what about, do you think there's a value in these points when you want to go international? When international.
Absolutely.
Now, do they redeem let's say Aeroplan points, do they redeem at the same valuation with a partner airline in Star Alliance as they
Yeah,
do with Air
if you're,
Canada? I assume they
yeah, typically
might
partners are
not.
fixed. Partners are fixed in terms on what will cost what, but Air Canada will have dynamic pricing. So
Mm,
for my flight out to Halifax and stuff, I'm getting like 6 cents per point redemption.
okay.
So the flight itself would cost, let's say, $3,000-4,000 for business class. I'm paying
Mm,
40 something thousand points, so it's pretty good redemption value for the trip itself. I probably said 6. It's probably more like it's higher up there, but business class flights are typically best redemption value for Aeroplan. In terms
okay.
of international travel, well, depending on how far international that you're going, are you looking at getting off the grid on where partner Air Canada flights will fly? Air Canada, Star Alliance are typically all grouped together. So United, Lufthansa, a handful of other airlines are partnered with them.
Yeah.
You'll typically there is a online that's a fixed rate chart for redemption.
Oh, okay. I
And
see.
the challenge that comes up sometimes is these partner airlines won't give up too much of their reward space for partner airlines
Yeah.
in business class, right? So I might want to fly to Frankfurt on Lufthansa through my Aeroplan points, but they might not give up enough space on that flight for Air Canada redemption. So
Okay.
a friend of mine who's also into points, he's booked a flight internationally through his Aeroplan, and it's flying from here to Vancouver to Frankfurt, Frankfurt to Ibiza, going Spain,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
going from Ibiza to
Nice
Frankfurt and back.
pronunciation. I like that.
Thank
Yeah.
you, thank you. So he's doing that flight, but the fun part here is Air Canada right now has a flexible cancellation policy thanks to a lovely pandemic that we're in. So he doesn't know what date he's going to fly yet, but he has enough points where he's got speculative bookings out there.
Okay.
So he doesn't know if he's flying July 9th or July 16th because he's waiting on friends to confirm.
Okay.
And then he'll cancel the one that he doesn't need
Oh, because they don't have a cancellation fee
for now.
for now, at least. I see.
Or you can book flexible business class bookings, which are more than fine.
True,
So
yeah.
a flight out there will typically cost, let's say, because it's booking for next summer, 2022,
Yeah.
costing around 100,000 Aeroplan each way for business class lay flat
wow.
seats
Yeah.
halfway around the world.
Wow. 100,000 each way for
Yep.
on points.
Yep.
It's expensive. Yeah. I mean,
It sounds expensive, but if you got a plan to get those points, or if you're earning, depending on what earning that you're doing and what goals that you have, so what travel goals that you have, and so let's say for some people is I want to see more of our own country,
yeah.
and the trip that I have coming up is within Canada. At this stage of this decade that we're in,
It makes sense.
it makes sense. It's a great opportunity to see the country that we already live in and to see a part of the country that I've never been to before. I've never been to Newfoundland. So I felt it was great value to do so. I might book some international trips for next year.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, assuming, this is the problem I have with international trips because, as you know, right, and actually my listeners know because I did an episode on South Africa actually recently, and just the COVID cost of everything is just something that just takes the kind of savings out of everything.
Well, and there is one thing that I haven't seen any good data on is whether the Scotia Gold points can be redeemed for those kind of travel costs.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time is these are costs, these are inconveniences if there are self-isolation requirements, additional testing that you need when you get there.
Exactly.
And then also what level of pandemic lockdowns are some of these countries in, because vaccine rollout isn't the same internationally as it may be in Canada, the US, and other developed countries. So that is something that we should always be very considerate of in this decade. And then on top of that is, let's say if you have a goal to see South Africa. It might not be Air Canada that might be your best bet. You might want to build up miles with, let's say, KLM.
Yeah.
Or with other airlines that may fly there. And there's other programs out there, and most American Express cards might have a general membership rewards program that can transfer to these other airlines. So it may make sense depending on where your goals are, where you hope to fly. Maybe there's family in certain parts of the world that you'd like to visit a bit more often.
Yeah.
You may want to build up loyalty in different programs.
Yeah. Because for me, international is kind of my priority or my interest, where my interest lies. Domestically, I'm not super interested that much. Maybe as maybe you are. I don't know, but
well, this year it's a bit different. I mean, out of
yeah.
Vancouver, I could still fly Air Canada down to the States.
Yeah.
I can fly Air Canada to, let's say, Mexico or to Hawaii or to Asia.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there's also partner airlines that you can redeem Aeroplan with too. So you're not limiting yourself that much. It's more so, well, I might want to get myself to somewhere in South America.
Yeah.
That's going to be a bit more of a challenge to do on points
Yeah, exactly.
because you can only get yourself so far. Sometimes it makes sense to redeem on 2 different airlines, 2
Mhm.
different reward programs. Sometimes it's worthwhile on some of them to just use a statement credit off of a Scotia Gold because there's no other program that has a good value.
But for these other airlines, let's say KLM as an example, or Air France, whatever, is it that easy to redeem points through their program when you're in another continent?
Some of them,
you know?
it's all online these days, so I mean, not so
Yeah.
much. It's not that much of a difference. The bigger one comes out to some of these other airlines like British Airways.
Yes.
They charge ridiculously high fees.
Yeah.
So you got to
I know.
work through different methods, and I'd recommend everyone do their research.
Yeah.
Prince of Travel Online is a great online resource.
Travel.
Yeah. So I'd recommend looking at Ricky's articles on there, and Ricky and team. But at the same time, comes out to is there's methods to make these loyalty programs work in our favor, and some of those is like for British Airways Avios program, Avios Rewards is using them on partner airlines. So some of them allow for different. Yeah, there's some weird tricks out there, and I don't have anything close to that memorized at this point.
Oh, okay.
But it comes out to is where do you want to go?
Yeah.
What options are available for you to get there? An example of which I have a couple of days coming up, or one night that I'm doing over in Tofino soon. I don't have anything. There's no Marriott's. There's no chain hotels there. So I'm going to, and that one most likely is I'll probably put it on either like some of these trips they're earning trips, and some of them they're burning trips. I might actually treat this as an earning trip. Spend some money out of my own pocket to do some travel because, well, I haven't had to spend as much money on travel lately. So you know what? Sometimes it's worthwhile to support the local communities and earn a bunch of points off of it. Where some of these credit cards will have travel multipliers. So American Express Platinum will have a 2 times multiplier on travel.
Now, how mad are you when you go to a place, any shop or restaurant or something, and they don't take Amex?
The big one there is
Doesn't it change your life so much?
well, as of recently, I'll just change my spending habits on where I decide to shop. I'll build up the shit list.
Okay, I see.
However, the other thing too is sometimes there's other mechanisms to build up points that I'll get into varying levels of detail with. This is also where there's sometimes good value in just having a generic Visa card. Something that can still earn you points, but maybe not at these multipliers that are getting insane amounts of points. Other times you can also use gift cards for some of these places, or let's say prepaid Visa or prepaid MasterCard gift cards in order to capture that spending if you need to. Other times it's sometimes not even worth the effort.
Now with these, I guess that was the last kind of area I wanted to touch on. Just if you have any words of wisdom or advice on this, the prepaid MasterCards and Visas and everything, as an example, how can you maximize those to your benefit? Let's say
typically it's to use them on places that won't typically take American Express, like let's say mom and pop restaurants or or maybe stores for certain products that you might not want to have American Express knowing about. Let's say like cannabis products or other pieces that way. So that's going to be your main method there. But also if you want to capture spending now and then actually do the spending later, because I might have to spend $3,000 in 3 months. I know I won't be able to do it this month. I know I got something coming up. Then you can use that. Or not just prepaid MasterCards or other gift cards too, like Amazon, Apple, grocery, gas. Gift cards for things that you might actually spend generically otherwise.
With prepaid, does it come out of like your checking account or something?
So a prepaid MasterCard, like imagine it's like a prepaid gift card. So I'll go to a grocery store, I'll buy a $50 prepaid Visa because I'm buying someone a gift and I don't know what to get them, so I'm going to give them the most generic gift I can possibly give them, which is not even cash. I'm just going to give them a prepaid Visa card. So at the grocery store, I'll buy it as I'll buy other groceries. And you know what? They'll ask me how much I want to put on it. So let's say $50 because I'll be even nicer this year for Christmas.
Okay.
And it just adds as an item onto your bill. So you can buy them at grocery stores. They'll typically have an activation fee because there's overhead on these kind of things too.
Yeah.
And then it's a card in your wallet that has a certain value on it. You can spend them at other places. Not much more to it than that.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes there's fees involved to hold balances open, but I don't like it too much. I find it's typically a bit more overhead than what it's worth, and sometimes you just gotta look at what you're spending, why you're spending things, and making sure that the goals that you're setting for using some of these programs are actually achievable.
Yeah.
You don't want to go in a bit over your head.
Okay. All right.
And other than that, again, words of wisdom there I'll typically say is No, you have goals.
Yeah.
Make sure that these are things that will actually help you towards your goals. And at the same time is we're keeping things in reach, we're being responsible, and we're doing some really fun trips in the meantime.
Absolutely, yeah. That's
Other
the
trips
goal.
too, like it makes other things like, oh, some friends want to go to Montreal in November for the weekend. You might as well.
Yeah. Wow.
And just catching up on what we haven't been able to capture in this previous year, a bit more so now that things are starting to open up a bit more and starting to enjoy the bit of the life that we love to live.
Yeah, I think we all need a little bit of getting out of our little isolated and separated lives the last year and or so. Definitely, travel is one way to cure that. So, well, Casey, it was lovely. I had a great time. We are at time, so
Let's go for a trip.
yeah. Hey, we will definitely in the future. I just need to get some more Scotia points. Hold on a second. But yeah. But anyway, yeah, thanks for sitting in. And again, this camera. You want to promote yourself?
Casey Callahan on Instagram. You'll put the tag in the description below, I'm sure.
Absolutely, I will. So, thanks a lot, everyone. I'm Misha. I'm saying bye.
Casey, talk soon, everyone.
All right. See you on the next one, guys. Ciao.